Hey guys, it's Alex. Today we're going to talk about the broke dick culture, the broke dick mentality that comes to building cars. And bear with me, I'm going to, make sense of all of this. So what I've seen a lot, and a lot of questions I get asked is, what is the cheapest way of making horsepower? Alex, I have a 2017 Mustang automatic, and I want to go fast. What's the cheapest way I can go fast? Well, I don't like outlining cheap, or saying, well, get this part, that part, and this part. I will tell you what the right parts, in my opinion, are to go fast. I'm not going to say, well, there's these set of headers on eBay that are pretty cheap, and I think they're just as good as American Racing Cooks or Dynatech or, Stainless Works. But I don't want to pay $1,400 for headers, Alex. That's too expensive. Yeah, you got to pay to play, buddy. You've inadvertently entered a hobby where you actually need money to go fast reliably. But people don't care. People go out there and look for the cheapest way of going fast. That's why people tend to go for the cheapest supercharger, the cheapest set of headers, the cheapest injectors, the cheapest set of everything. And then they wonder why their car is not really running well. So when I got my first car, it was a Mustang, 86 hatchback GT 4i. And that bitch was slow as fuck for the longest time, but I had a lot of fun. I went to the track. I learned how to kind of go to the track, how to manipulate the car, how to max out how the car currently was. Then I moved along, had a bunch of other Mustangs, and I ended up with a 86 notchback. This was back when I was like 20, 1935. So, so in that car, I didn't do much to the engine. I basically went from fuel injected to carbureted, put an air gap intake, put a Holley 650, a set of Ford Racing inch and 5/8 shorties, off-road H-pipe, 430s, a 2810.5, a good clutch, a Tremec 3550, and that bitch would go 1170s all fucking day. And I know I wasn't gonna break it because I wasn't making more than like 280 wheel. But nowadays, people tend to want to go fast with current stuff, like brand new cars, and then they go, well, my payment is high, so now I have to buy cheap parts so I can not be the slowest guy on the internet. So this is what happens. You're 18, 19 years old, you see a 2018 Mustang or a 2017 Mustang go fast on the internet. You're working at AutoZone. You go, fuck, I want one of those. Hey mom, can you, Meatloaf, Mom, I need you to co-sign for my Mustang. And she, okay, honey. Because, moms give everything to millennials nowadays. So you go down to the dealership and she co-signs for your $35,000 automatic Mustang, which you couldn't go base. You wanted to have the navigation. You wanted to have all the shit. At 11 or 13%, and you're like, I don't care. I work overtime at Vato Zone. It doesn't matter. So sure enough, what happens? You have a $750 car payment. you're like, oh shit, yo, I ain't got no money, yo. But that's okay, man. I'm gonna get my 47s from way down in the valley, and then I'm gonna go get some stainless shitty headers from eBay, and then I'm gonna get a cold air. I'm gonna make my own cold air. For some reason, the guy ended up being Mexican. I don't know how that story evolved. But basically, what ends up happening is that guy is maxed out on his car payment, and then he wants to go cheap. I see this with GT500 owners, guys that really shouldn't have a GT500. If you want a GT500 and you can swing the payment, great. But if you want to modify it to go fast, it takes money. Do you know why the LS culture is so big right now? Do you understand why people LS swap a lot of things? Because it's cheap. It's all cheap shit. And that's why on some of my other videos that my character created, called it broke dick motherfuckers. I'm not saying that they're not fast. I'm saying that they're broke. So what do? They get a lightweight Fox. They get a, LQ, whatever the fuck, 6-liter, throw a set of heads, cam, intake, an eBay turbo, and cross their fingers. And guess what? It actually rolls the fuck out. But a lot of people don't want that. They don't want to go that shitty route, so they tend to go with newer stuff, but then they're cheap on parts. I've seen so many people that try to duplicate builds. Well, I got the same stuff that guy's got. I got the exact same shit. How come my car's not going as well? All right, tell me what you got. Well, I got, a BBK throttle body, air raid race intake, and stainless power headers with Bosch 40 somethings. Look, it's just a mishmash of parts because you went cheap, and you wonder why the car isn't running as good as your buddy's car who spent the right money on a kit, a power pack, or he just saved up for boost. When it comes to late model stuff, you gotta have some dough. You gotta have some dough to go fast, period. Now, if you want to keep up with the Joneses and want to be that guy not having the slowest 15 and up S550 or 11 to 14, I'm telling you guys, go old school. Go old school, because old school is cheap. You can get into a Fox pretty cheap. You can buy a 302 pretty cheap, and you can go fast pretty cheap. And if you want to LS swap it, guess what? If you just want to go fast, that's fine. I don't care. But when it comes to late model stuff, I hear all the time, that's too expensive. Well, this isn't for you. Plain and simple. This game isn't for you. If you're gonna want it to be into the late model stuff and want to be a cheap motherfucker with every part there is, this game is not for you. You need to walk away. It's not for you. Or build something old school, or build something that is within your budget. Do not extend yourself out so much that you're going to be basically barely paying rent, barely paying anything, and you're just going to be this guy who has a pretty quick race car but lives in a shitty apartment. So anyway, I implore you not to extend yourself out too much. Now, truth be told, my Mustang goes as fast as it does, but it took 5 years to get where I'm at. 5 years after owning the car. It was a 10-second car about 2 years or 3 years after owning the car, but for most of its life, it was a cold air off-road H-pipe car. That's all it was. A cold air off-road H-pipe, and I was happy running 1170s, 1180s all freaking day. And believe it or not, I had the most fun running mid 11s, high 11s, because I had more people to race. More people around that time, and there was more fun in it. I wasn't gonna break anything because the bitch ain't making crazy power. The only thing I was gonna bust up is a clutch or a transmission, but guess what? That all held up until 115,000 miles, so I didn't really have any issues. I was very happy going mid to high 11s. Now the opportunity presented itself for me to get a supercharger. And guess what? I took the opportunity. And that's when trouble started. That's when I noticed, crap, this thing can blow up at any time, because it's effectively doubling the horsepower that it is rated for from the factory. So what did I do? I was safe with it. I didn't want to be the fastest dude on the block. I didn't give a fuck. I just wanted to have some fun with my friends and go pretty quick. But as it all, rolled out, the car ended up going a low 10 with a lot of help, a lot of data logging, and a lot of patience. And at any time, that thing could have blown up, and I knew it. But a lot of you guys out there want to keep up with the Joneses. Don't worry about keeping up with the Joneses. If you want to go fast and understand everything about, what it takes to go fast, go backwards. Don't get a 96 through 2004 Mustang. Those two valves, I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck about those cars. Those cars are an awful platform. They're cheap now for a reason. I would rather you go back even further. If you can get yourself into an 87 or 93 Mustang, heads, cam, rear end, 100 shot, you're going faster than anyone else with newer stuff. Now, you might not have the newest, greatest, latest, beautiful car, but guess what? You will at least understand what it takes to go fast. And on late model stuff, don't be cheap. If you're gonna get the cheap booster pump, the cheap injectors, the cheap headers, the cheap cold air, the cheap, your car will not perform as the guys that are using top-notch parts that are R&D'd, that are proven, that are vetted. Okay, don't go the cheap route, because all it's gonna do is gonna cost you in the long run anyway. I've seen guys buy cheap headers and they split right in the primary. Imagine that, buying a set of headers that you thought were good and they're shit. So now you're out the $300 or $400 and now you gotta start all over again. Don't be cheap. Sometimes guys, you gotta realize this game is not for you. If you're on the cheap front, if you can't afford it, go backwards, build something old school. And if you even have to, LS swap it. But you'll just be as gay as all the other guys. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you later.